Wednesday, March 13th, 2013, episode 21. That means we are now legal to drink in the United States. We just started, and I'm already sensing a lot of shouting on this week's episode, so it should be pretty good. We're going to talk about Always On DRM in the wake of SimCity's disastrous launch. Ellie's going to chat a bit about the successes and failures of Kickstarter. And later, I think Arrow's head is going to explode as we review our experiences with the Neverwinter MMO beta weekend. With me today, as usual, are Alindriel and Arrowlade. Hey, Arrow, how's your weekend been?
It was great until today, because you know who doesn't understand daylight savings? Toddlers.
Also me. Yeah, I woke up this morning and I was had one of those flashbacks, or not flashbacks, but movie experiences. I thought what's that guy's name? Count Rugen in Princess Bride. He's like, I've just drained 1 hour of your life. Fuck you.
It's going to be really great when I get her up at school tomorrow for what she insists is 5:30 in the morning.
To be fair, daylight savings time, especially the spring forward, is kind of bullshit.
It really is.
I was so sad last night when it was 2 a.m. and suddenly it's 3 a.m. and I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, I was watching TV and TiVo had, the 12 o'clock hour, 12:30, 1, and then 3. It totally skipped the 2 o'clock hour, which I guess is right, but it makes me feel so sad.
I know. Why can't they take an hour of our workday at least? Anyway, I guess we'll talk about games. So this week was the launch of SimCity, which SimCity 5 technically, which is the first SimCity to come out in 10 years since SimCity 4 in 2003, and it's been a total shitstorm. We're at the point Amazon briefly pulled the game, and it's back up now, but they were getting so many requests for refunds that they pulled it off their store for a little while. Yesterday, EA promised that they would be sending out another game, people who bought SimCity, because it's been such a bad launch. They're going to get a new game, which I suppose they can play while they're waiting to log on to SimCity. And the problem that everyone is having is a result of the always-on DRM. So when you're trying to log in, if you're trying to do a single-player game, you either can't get on or there's a huge wait to get on. Sometimes when the server crashes, it doesn't properly cloud save your stuff, so you lose all your work. It's been a total mess. And I don't think any of us are going to argue. We're definitely always against always-on DRM. None of us are going to argue in favor of it. So it's kind of an interesting thing to talk about, but maybe I'll go with Arrow first.
You think I will be less rageful than Ellie?
I was going to say, I like that laugh there.
Always On DRM is ostensibly to help curb piracy, and I don't know, how valid do you think an excuse that is?
It's complete bullshit.
All right, thanks for listening.
Yeah, there you go. That's the end of the show. We're done. I understand, multiplayer games being always on. I mean, it would be really stupid if you played World of Warcraft online, because usually that's just called Warcraft 3. But it's SimCity. Fuck you. The point of SimCity is you build your metropolis, and then you summon Godzilla, and you walk away and watch everyone try to rebuild the pieces of their life. That's what SimCity is for. SimCity is not for being always on. It's a game that you play yourself. I don't even understand the methodology behind having to be connected to the internet at all times.
If you bought SimCity today, would you consider, with always on, that they could just turn off the servers in a year? Would that worry you?
If I were to purchase SimCity, I would then immediately go and the shit out of making sure I could play it. There's no question. I would hack that shit. I would not be in anyone's cloud server. Surely it exists already. A single-player offline version of SimCity 5. And I would find it, and I would install it.
I'm actually not entirely sure that does exist. What I've heard is that they are leveraging their servers to do a lot of the processing for all of the actors in the game. One of the things that it sort of intrigues me about SimCity, this one, is that they've gone to the trouble, I guess, of adding in living Sims, so you can zoom all the way into your city and like there's Sims walking around. I'm pretty sure they're really, really dumb and don't know how to take a left turn, or don't know how to go a slightly longer way to work, even though there's a gigantic traffic accident or something. But they literally model everything as its own sort of actor in the system, and I think they use their servers to do a lot of that processing. So I think that any offline versions are going to be a lot closer to like a Warcraft emulation server or whatever, the private server stuff, where people have to build up the server-side scripting too. I guarantee it is happening right now.
That is kind of interesting that the anti-piracy measure is probably going to drive more people otherwise to private servers or whatnot.
It happens on MMOs too, so I don't know. It's a shitty experience. I went through the Diablo 3 launch, like, I don't know, what was that, like 6 months ago maybe? Like, I don't understand how EA didn't understand what kind of negative impact this could have. I mean, maybe they don't care. Maybe getting us all, the three of us excluded, I guess, but getting everybody to already have purchased SimCity, through pre-orders, which they pushed really hard, release day sales. I mean, maybe that's good enough. Maybe they make their money there and they don't actually care about keeping people around. That seems a little bit unlikely since they have in-game transactions, but who knows?
I know, Ellie, you buy new games quite a bit. Is always on DRM. Did it hold you back from getting SimCity, or is it just not a game that you're interested in?
I didn't buy SimCity because it has been a long time since I have played a sim game. I like the genre. It has a lot of sort of nostalgic value, and since everybody was super excited about this, I was sort of considering giving it a spin, but it wasn't really the always-on DRM that held me back. It was just the fact that I didn't actually expect to play it that much.
How about you, Era? I know you're a city builder fan. Why did you not buy SimCity 5?
I am really hesitant to pick up any more games that require my internet to be on. I like to have some things for when, I don't know, we get high winds here and the internet crashes. So spending all of my time and money on something that I know I'm not going to be able to play a lot of the time is no good for me.
How does your Steam library handle it?
I do all of the play offline that it lets you do. You download more data.
Which I honestly think is a pretty reasonable approach to it, right?
And one of my favorites is Heroes, God, is it 6? I think it's 6. The Ubisoft game. It has an always-on component because it's a turn-based strategy game, so there's a lot of online multiplayer going on there. But you can also play offline. And all it does is you don't build up your online play stats, which I'm totally fine with.
You mean like every other video game ever?
Exactly. With Heroes, even when you play single player yourself, you can build up special stats on your hero that you can then use online. And you can't add to that experience count when you're playing offline.
Oh, I gotcha. Well, that's reasonable. I mean, I always thought that like Diablo 2's online-offline multiplayer situation was a really good one, right? Like, I could have characters and build them up and play them in LAN games and offline mode. And then if I wanted to play online, then I had to join their service and play it on their service. And those character save files sat somewhere else, and who gave a shit what I did to my local copies, because who cares?
Exactly.
I mean, that was the fun part about SimCity games in the past too, was, like you said, building up a really thriving city and then letting a dinosaur loose on the city. That's really fun, but I don't want to do that if I never have a chance to go back to my city. So not being able to control my save games kind of sucks.
Right, if you can't restore from a terrible, hilarious disaster, what's even the point?
It's true. In SimCity, it's always been one of those games, it's a great game to play when you're offline, and it's too bad that you can't do that with 5. But what I don't get is how we've ended up in a situation with the current game industry where we have to put up with always on DRM because apparently people are pirating, like, I don't know, 95% of whatever the Ubisoft insane guy said last year. And at the same time, just about every game is moving to free-to-play with microtransactions. Like, is playing a game, exposure to the game, going to pay off in the long run or not?
Let me just say that those statistics are probably kind of made up. It's like, and even if they're not, like, who cares, right? Like, the games industry is $1 billion a year industry, including pirates. So I don't understand how it's our problem.
Yeah, and I just don't see a whole lot of difference between a certain amount of piracy of a game and free-to-play. It's all the same big non-paying player pile. Either your game will coax people to a cash store or it won't.
I mean, I don't know. I'm very much of the opinion that people should make games that are good enough to play on their own, and then I'll want to pay them. That was the other thing, by the way. Did you hear that they can't preload? You couldn't preload SimCity? That was cool. So then everybody, when release day came out, had to like sit around for 4 hours trying to download too.
Yeah, I just don't even. And to be fair, although we're picking on EA and SimCity right now, I mean, always on DRM is a problem across a whole bunch of different publishers. I tried to play Arkham Asylum on my Steam box last weekend for the first time, and it took literally, not even joking, 20 minutes from the time I first booted up the game to going through all the hoops. I had to install, I don't know, special Windows software, and I had to go make an Xbox Live account and blah, 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 just to play Arkham Asylum on my Steam box.
And that gets even better, too. You can't use your Xbox Live account on your computer and your Xbox at the same time, which I discovered the hard way when I was playing Arkham Asylum and got knocked out in the middle of a big old 20-man fight because my spouse turned on the Xbox to watch a Netflix movie.
What? That's the stupidest thing.
I had the same exact experience, except the other way, where I kicked her off of Netflix.
That's just not... I don't even understand. That's not even well thought out. Like, come on. I've seen so much drama in the last week over the SimCity in particular and always on DRM, and it's really come to the forefront. And I want to shake people and tell them to, I don't know, stop pre-ordering games unless you know it's going to be the game that you are waiting for. Don't pre-order games. Stop buying stupid games with always on DRM. Seriously, people, let's learn something from this.
I pretty much agree. Like, I have tried my best not to pre-order games, especially games that don't have demos or at least, some sort of games press review out already.
Yeah, and I mean, even last week, you look at Polygon, one of the big video game news sites, and they started out last week based on the press beta with a 9.5 for SimCity, and they reviewed it twice, so by the end of last week, their score was at a 4.
It seems like it's all about punishing their consumers, and I don't understand what the reasoning and methodology is behind that. Because that's what it's hurting. It doesn't hurt pirates when you do always on DRM. Even kind of. All it does is give them another hoop to jump through, and for most of these people, the more hoops you give them, the more they love their life.
I like how we don't really even have much to say because it's just
it's common sense.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like I'm sitting here rolling my eyes and sighing heavily and not actually saying anything new.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're going to talk about it because it's the big story of the week, and it's a big deal. But on the other hand, I mean, no shit. Everyone saw this coming. They had this problem in the beta.
They did, didn't they? For you guys, what would be acceptable DRM if we have to live in a world where DRM exists, which I'm not convinced we do?
I'm okay with single-time activation. Like, the first time you start a game, fine. Let's activate it online.
Right.
And then give me a single-player mode, which is offline.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's all. That's pretty much where I was going to. I don't actually mind verifying that I purchased something. What I mind is having to do it constantly, and then not having any freedom to use the products that I bought as I want.
I think it's really annoying that they believe that I am a criminal. All the time. Period. The end.
Yeah.
It's super offensive and just makes me sad.
We have something brand new to talk about as of Friday. The Neverwinter MMO beta was this weekend. All three of us got in it. I believe Arrow and Ellie, you guys are very familiar with the lore. I am totally unfamiliar with the lore, having never played any Neverwinter games or read any of the books or played Baldur's Gate. I know, I'm sorry. But I think all three of us came to the same conclusion, which is... But let's go to Arrow first.
It's less and more guys, really, there's no excuse for making an ugly game in the year of our Lord Jesus Jones 2013. I mean, there's not. You can make a specific stylistic choice and be all cartoony, or you can be all super realistic or whatever. But really, a big studio, huge budget, and yet, I was comparing the beta character generation with screenshots from Star Wars Galaxies, which was released in 2003, developed in 2002. Oh my god, Galaxies has better anti-aliasing and everything. It's awful. Just awful. Like, I tried to play it, and it was like there was a knife in my eye, and they were twisting it.
Now we're back on podcast schedule.
It was. I can forgive a shitty game if the shitty game has a really good story, but a shitty game isn't going to have a good story. That would make it not a shitty game. Or it's super, super pretty, which happens all the time. Cough, cough, TERA, cough, cough.
I love that you've been converted to TERA. It makes my day.
There's no conversion. There's no... Mr. Whiskerface has a butthole.
I think I just found the title of this episode.
But it's... Oh my god, how could Neverwinter be so bad? I've played all of the other games. I mean, the original Neverwinter Nights looks better than this game. The cutscenes were so atrocious. The dialogue animation, even out in the world or in a cutscene, it didn't matter which, the dialogue animation was like Team America World Police marionettes just dropping the jaw over and over. It was awful. And yet, the one shining bright spot was their fire graphics and animation were amazing. But it looked so completely out of place on the rest of this horrible Play-Doh world that it was like they'd stolen a render from somewhere else and just shoved it into the game.
So I don't understand how... Cryptic also made City of Heroes and Star Trek Online. Star Trek Online looks so much better. All of my characters look fat. I don't get it. Why are all of my characters too wide? There's no reason.
I want to know why my wizard put her 2 fingers in the air and never stopped.
Why does she do that? Why does she do that?
And it was so weird, too, because like they were doing some interesting things with character customization. Like, you could have giant, long-fingered pianist hands and stuff.
Oh, yeah, the character creator is wacky. There's like a hand thickness slider.
And there was a boob slider, but...
there was also a heels slider.
Yeah, the barbification slider. But the boob slider, the default, which looked like your standard, really endowed fantasy chick look, was all the way at 0. You could get so much huger.
So your boob slider goes from big to ridiculous.
Yeah, that one went up to 11.
It's not Saints Row boob sliders territory. But let's just be clear here.
But no, the Saints Row thing, you've got to look at that contextually. There was also a penis slider. There is not in Neverwinter.
That is absolutely true. And the heels slider, as best I could tell, all it does is break your ankles. Like, it literally just breaks your ankles. Your entire rest of your body doesn't change. You don't, Your calves don't tighten. Nothing happens. You just are all of a sudden up on your tiptoes. So I think I've played it more than everybody here. Is that probably true to say? I played like maybe 2 hours this morning and another hour yesterday.
I think I've maybe put 3 hours in before my heart just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, so I keep playing it trying to find something that's good because I really like the Foundry, I think it's called. It's called the Foundry, right? The content creation system for players. And I think that I don't think it's actually curated. Maybe it's curated a little. I actually found where they give out those quests and have done one or two of them. It's interesting. It all looks like, it belongs in the game. You go off and go to a tavern, and there's a bulletin board, and you pick up a quest and scan through and find all the stuff that people have built with a little description. And you go somewhere and teleport to the place and have a little instance, and it's pretty cool. I don't know if mine was designed for my level or if it scales. That part was unclear to me. But it was just not good, right? I mean, I'm going to compare it to TERA because I've been playing a lot of TERA this week also. But you just don't move properly. The animations are just really chunky.
And the dodge effect is so slow and dumb. And
what class were you playing?
A cleric.
Okay, so I was playing a mage, and the mage teleports, which solves that problem a little bit. But you definitely do still slide. And it's just really chunky. I don't know how better to describe it than that. It's frustrating to play.
If you're going to do an action MMO, which indicates that, really the fine-tuning of combat is where the meat of the game is going to be, you can't have crappy, chunky animations.
Yeah, and if you press block, it should block.
They would have done better to just put a little hex grid on the ground. And each time you click, you move to a different hex.
You're not allowed to play hexes. It's D&D. D&D's 4E is specifically designed for grid.
Fine, a grid. I haven't played since 3.5.
Oh, that's fine.
Which, I mean, and isn't the 4E version of Forgotten Realms the worst part of Forgotten Realms?
I don't know. People say that. I don't think I've ever actually played a game in real Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, and that was another problem with the lore. They were letting you in the background picker thing, which was actually also really cool. There were 30 different choices for a backstory for your character, but they were doing some things that were canonically out of 4E, unless they rebuilt them between 3.5 and 4E, I guess. I don't know.
They did change stuff for 4E. I know that that's true, and I know that people have complained vociferously about it.
Imagine that, vociferous complaining.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I want the game to be good. I want it to be fun to play, because I think that there's a lot of potential meat in the Foundry.
I would super like to play online D&D that's pretty.
We all want to play online D&D that's pretty.
Unfortunately, that is not this game.
Yeah, I was looking for something, unique or why does this game exist for the hour and a half I played, and I do not know.
Also, what the hell is wrong with the hair?
Oh my god, the hair is so bad.
The hair is the hair is worse than the dwarven female hair in Warcraft. Way worse. And that hair is pretty bad. I interrupted you because the hair needed to be said, but...
That is a fine point.
2 knives, 1 in each eye, twisted.
I was going to say, I'm not so sold on the Foundry as being a good idea. I think player-created content is a nice idea, and it's easy for companies, but I've met players, and on the whole, I would not trust them to put together something for me. So I'm a little wary of player-generated content as being a big selling point.
Well, you said you'd never played Neverwinter?
I have not, no.
That's the thing. A lot of my best memories of playing Neverwinter were playing player-created storylines. I mean, there's a lot of garbage, but there was also a lot of really good stuff. And it was easy to find the good stuff because the community kind of self-policed that, and people would not recommend stuff that was stupid unless you were specifically looking for stupid porn sex sim.
So Neverwinter Online builds some of that in, too. When I finished the little scenarios that I did, it popped up a rating box, and you can give it a star and actually write a review, or flag it as inappropriate or whatever and report it to Cryptic. I think some of that is really well built in, and there is no doubt in my mind that there will be a ton of shit floating around. I mean, it's open for everybody, so everybody can do whatever they want. But yeah, Neverwinter had a huge amount of player-generated content, and by the end, I think people were far more interested in people considered that stuff to end up being vastly superior to the main game itself. I mean, the same thing is true of like Dimensions and Rift and stuff, right? Like some people just do what I did and take the 3 things you're given and stick them in a corner and call it a day, and other people spend hours and hours and hours of time making sure that each plank is exactly perfectly vertical and lined up. So getting more people to create games for me is cool, which is sort of contradictory to the stuff I was talking about with Kickstarter. But like, if it's done within a system that I already know that I like or is good, that makes me a lot happier. You don't necessarily want to be there in the early days while you're trying to figure out what's good. If we come back to Neverwinter in 2 years and several graphics updates, we might have a really good game on our hands. If they also fix the combat and animations.
And textures.
Right, and don't make all of the backgrounds look like they're 2D painted horrible.
So the short version is we can't recommend it.
Yeah, is it... do we have to buy it?
No, you don't have to buy it unless you want to actually have some choice in race and class.
So you have to buy it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because playing D&D with a whole bunch of humans is not really D&D, is it?
Yeah, I'm not really feeling this. I feel like, I don't know. If I was Cryptic, I'd be worried about this one. I don't know how well this is going to do.
I think that the worlds of the various Dungeons and Dragons worlds are interesting worlds to explore and would be cool to play in an MMO. I just haven't found the MMOs that implement it well. So they'll keep making them, and we'll keep trying them and being disappointed. It is the life of a D&D player.
All right, well, if you played Neverwinter Beta and you like it and you want to tell us how we're wrong, you can call us at 347-565-4673, otherwise known as 347-56-LEOR. I actually looked at the internet after playing because I was expecting it to be totally attacked, and I saw a lot of people who are like, yeah, this game is great, I can't wait to play it, get to level 20, and it's all fun from there. So maybe we're all horribly, horribly wrong, but I don't think so. So aside from Neverwinter era, why don't you tell us about Mr. Whiskerface's butthole? I basically just wanted to say that.
It's true. So I miss playing games with my spouse, and last week he was like, oh hey, look, TERA's totally free now. Let's try it. And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. It's really, I was playing games together, it was free, there was no money, and I wasn't going to tell anyone, because I wasn't going to play for very long, because it was going to be terrible. And then it ended up actually being kind of fun, because I rolled a Popori, Mr. Whiskerface. Little stripy kitten head with a giant motherfucker axe, and it's never not funny. Ever. And it feels a lot like playing something like Bayonetta, where the much too much is just right. And I really like the moving around, and block is an actual physical button, and, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I spent $5 and bought some lockbox keys and ended up with a ridiculous amount of fake money. So that's pretty great.
I'm seriously debating spending the $10 to get hipster glasses for my elf. Alright, well, aside from TERA, have you been playing anything else, Arrow?
No, that's basically it. I keep looking at my Steam library going, no, I don't want to play TERA. It makes me feel like I hate myself. And then it's like, I don't want to pick a fuck it, TERA.
I have had that conversation with myself so many times.
All right, Ellie, how about you? What else have you been playing this week?
I have mostly been drawn into TERA. Also, we did our first instance. You were there, which was fun. It didn't really feel like an instance because we were all sort of high level, and I think most of us are not terrible at video games. So we sort of like ran in and like blew a bunch of stuff up with AoE. But I have to say that was really fun to do. So that's good enough for me. I also have played some... I found a new iOS game that I like. It's called Slingshot Racing. And it's like a top-down racer with no actual controls other than that you get to shoot out like a grappling hook and grab onto poles at the edge of every turn. I mean, it's a really straightforward mechanic, and there's like enough to it to have made me happy that I spent $1 on it. Since I apparently can't stop buying them.
But you also hate spending money on games.
I don't hate spending money on games. I hate spending money on bad games or games that I don't know about.
I think we all hate spending money on bad games.
I hate spending money on games too early in the process, I think. I think that's what I'm coming to realize with Kickstarter.
Didn't you just pre-order God of War, whatever that is?
It comes out on Tuesday, and I pre-ordered it on Thursday. And I have no idea if it's going to be good or not, but it's Kratos, and I have a man crush on Kratos, so it works out okay.
Well, I dragged out SimCity 4 this weekend because everyone's been talking about SimCity, and I don't want to buy the new one, so I went back to the classic.
That lets you play offline?
Yeah, it lets me play offline, and so it's a lot of fun to go back to 4 because you got a lot of territory, and man... I installed that on Friday, and then I was up till 6 in the morning playing my damn city, because I cannot stop with the city builders.
Did you see Tropico 4 and all of its DLCs were on sale on Steam this weekend?
Yes, I did. I have them all already, so you know. But that was smart advertising by Steam. So that was fun. I mean, you know, SimCity 4, it's the classic. It's great. You can't go wrong with that. I did mod it up a little bit to fix some, because it is from 2003, so gave some more modern textures to buildings and just kind of helped with stability. But it's a great game, and I would recommend it over the latest SimCity. And the other thing I started playing was The Longest Journey. I put a post on my blog last week asking people to suggest games for me to play, and 2 people, including your wife, Talon, Ellie, recommended that I play The Longest Journey, so I started that one up. And that is going to be really good. I only got about 2 hours into it, and I get the feeling that there's a lot of exposition and story it needs to try and get across to you in those first 2 hours, so I'm sort of hoping it picks up a little action-wise as it goes on, but I'm interested to see where it goes.
Sweet, and I think Dreamfall hit its mark, or Dreamfall chapters, so then you'll have Dreamfall to play, and then Dreamfall chapters in, you know, a year when Kickstarter comes through there.
And it's one of those games that I've been hearing about it for years. It's a pretty popular and fundamental game, so I'm glad I'm getting around to it now. All right, I think that's it. Anyone got anything else to say?
Nope. Other than, wow, we talked a lot.
EA sucks.
Holy shit, we did talk a lot. Okay, we have to stop talking now. All right, well, we're going to wrap this up. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can find us online at leorblog.com. Click on podcast in the main menu, or leorblog.com/cat-context-podcast. All one word. Give us a call, 347-56-LEOR. Email us, podcast@leorblog.com, or tweet me at leors, LIORES.com. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Thank you, you two, for staying up and talking. That's it. Goodbye.
No problem.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
Bye.